If I told you that one careless sentence, spoken to the wrong person, can quietly ruin years of your life, would you believe me? If I told you that not everyone who listens to your pain is praying for your healing, would you still open your mouth so easily? This story is not gentle. It is not soft. It is a warning wrapped in a life lesson. And if you truly listen to it until the end, you may never speak about your struggles the same way again. There was once a man named Ezekiel Moreo. Most people who met him thought he was calm, steady, and almost unbreakable. He walked slowly, spoke carefully, and carried himself like someone who had learned patience the hard way. What they did not know was that Ezekiel had once been the kind of man who shared everything. Every worry, every fear, every wound. He believed that speaking his pain would lighten it. He believed that people would understand. He believed that honesty always brought healing. That belief nearly destroyed him. Ezekiel grew up believing that silence was weakness and openness was strength. When life became heavy, he talked. When his heart ached, he explained. When things fell apart, he invited others to look at the broken pieces. At first, it felt good. People nodded. Some offered advice. Others said kind words. He mistook attention for care and listening for loyalty. He did not realize that pain, once spoken to the wrong ears, can be turned into a weapon. The first time he learned this lesson, it was subtle. Ezekiel lost a job he loved, confused and embarrassed. He shared his frustration with people he called friends. He spoke about his fears of failure, his worries about money, his doubts about his future. They listened closely. Too closely. Days later, he noticed something strange. Conversations changed. Opportunities disappeared. Whispers followed him. Someone had repeated his fears, not as a concern, but as a story. His pain had become gossip. His vulnerability had become entertainment. Still, Ezekiel did not stop. He told himself it was coincidence. He told himself that people meant well. When his marriage later began to struggle, he spoke again. He explained the arguments, the distance, the loneliness. He wanted comfort. What he received instead was judgment. Some took sides. Some smiled while secretly enjoying the chaos. Others stored his words like ammunition, ready to use them later. He did not realize that many people do not want to help you heal. They want to feel superior while you bleed. The breaking point came on a quiet evening when Ezekiel overheard his own pain being laughed at. He stood outside a room, unseen, listening as people he trusted repeated his struggles with mockery disguised as concern. His fears were jokes. His tears were stories. His deepest wounds were no longer his. Something inside him went silent that night. Not angry, not loud, just silent. For the first time, Ezekiel asked himself a dangerous question. Why did sharing his pain make him feel weaker instead of stronger? Why did he feel more exposed after speaking instead of relieved? That question followed him for months until he met an old man sitting alone at a bus stop one early morning. The man's eyes were tired but sharp, like someone who had survived many storms. Without knowing why, Ezekiel sat beside him. They exchanged a few words, nothing deep at first. Then the old man said something that felt like it was spoken directly into Ezekiel's life. He said, "Most people don't know what to do with someone else's pain, so they turn it into something else. Advice, gossip, judgment, or power." Ezekiel listened. The old man continued, slowly and clearly. Pain is sacred. It should not be placed in careless hands. When you give your wounds to everyone, you teach them how to hurt you. Those words stayed with Ezekiel long after the bus stop emptied. He began to observe people differently. He noticed how some leaned in not out of concern, but curiosity. He saw how others asked questions not to help, but to compare. He realized that many people listen only to feel better about their own lives. Your pain reassures them that they are doing fine. Ezekiel started changing, not overnight, but intentionally. He stopped explaining himself to people who had not earned his trust. He stopped talking about his struggles to those who only showed up to listen, not to support. He learned that silence is not hiding. Silence is protection. He learned that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Something powerful happened when he stopped sharing his pain with everyone. His mind became clearer. His strength returned. He began solving problems instead of narrating them. He saved his words for action. He spoke only to those who had proven wisdom, compassion, and discretion. And even then, he spoke carefully. People noticed the change. Some felt uncomfortable. Others grew distant. A few became curious. But Ezekiel did not explain himself anymore. He understood now that growth does not announce itself. Healing does not need applause. Strength does not require witnesses. One day, a man approached Ezekiel and asked why he had become so quiet. Ezekiel smiled and replied, "Because my pain does not need an audience." That sentence carried more power than all his previous explanations combined. The truth Ezekiel learned is one many people never understand. Not everyone who asks how you are cares about the answer. Not everyone who listens wants you to rise. Some people collect stories. Some collect weaknesses. Some collect reasons to feel better than you. When you share your pain with everyone, you hand them control over how your story is told. Ezekiel also learned that pain handled privately grows into wisdom. Pain broadcasted carelessly turns into regret. He began writing his thoughts instead of speaking them. He prayed instead of complaining. He acted instead of announcing. And slowly, his life rebuilt itself, stronger than before. Years later, Ezekiel became known as a man of depth. People sought his advice, not because he spoke often, but because when he did, his words carried weight. He had learned that mystery protects you, silence sharpens you, and restraint strengthens you. Before the end of his life, Ezekiel shared one final lesson with a young man who reminded him of his former self. He said, "Speak when it brings healing. Stay silent when it brings safety." Your pain is not meant for everyone. Some people will pray for you. Others will prey on you. Know the difference. This story is not telling you to isolate yourself. It is not telling you to suffer alone. It is telling you to choose wisely. To understand that access to your pain is a privilege, not a right. To realize that strength is not in how much you reveal, but in how carefully you reveal it. If you remember nothing else from this story, remember this. Not everyone who listens cares. Not everyone who cares listens. Protect your pain. Guard your story. Heal in silence. Rise in action. And let your results speak louder than your wounds ever could.